This is 2027. A brand new season is upon us here in this F1 24 career mode. Season 4, the year is 2027. Charles Leclerc is the reigning Drivers' World Champion and Ferrari are the reigning Constructors' Champions as we go into a 16-race calendar starting in Jeddah and ending in Las Vegas. And if you guys haven't already watched the pre-season video for this one, then be sure to go check that one out to get the full context of this season, including the driver transfers, all the storylines that come with that, and how we ended up choosing Toyota for our next season in this series. All 10 of these teams scored points last season and all had their time to shine and individual storylines that ebbed and flowed through 2026. Now some of them with a fresh lick of paint for 2027, and as ever in Formula 1, the beauty is everything gets reset to zero, it's all fair game, and you go again. And the standings aren't the only thing that got reset, of course, as we had an R&D regulation reset for a couple of departments over the winter break, and I can reveal for the first time this is what the R&D chart is looking like. Oi, oi, oi. We left Mercedes in shambles. They are the worst team now on this grid. You can see away from Mercedes there clearly has been a pattern of the quote-unquote established top teams having the pedigree, having the facilities to go over a winter period, still develop last year's car, and still come out into this season with a decent first outing. You know, BMW, Williams, Haas, Cadillac, Toyota, Audi, High-Tech, all of us went down a lot more than Aston Martin, Red Bull, Ford, Ferrari, McLaren. McLaren back on top as the #1 team, and by a clear margin there. It's actually McLaren on their own, and then a very ferocious midfield, and then maybe backmarkers, so to speak, of High-Tech, Audi, and Mercedes. But remember, 4 seasons in, the scaling of this performance chart, the actual values of performance, it's so zoomed in. So in reality, even though the gaps look kind of large to McLaren, large down to the bottom 3 teams there, it's actually so tight now. We're still very much at this point nearer to a maxed out car than we are to even the halfway point of these cars' potentials. So as always, the AI driver's focus, general momentum, and the team's operation race to race is going to be so important, as it is in real life. You know, if you hit the ground running, you can really carry that forward into the next couple of races. So with that, it's time to hit the track for the very first time in 2027 as we go to the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix.
Welcome to the Jeddah Corniche, one of the fastest circuits on the calendar. But let's see who will be fastest of them all. We're about to set the grid for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Yes, it's qualifying.
Oh, for goodness sake, we haven't even turned a wheel in this season yet, and it's already thrown up a major surprise and a spanner in the works. It's raining here in Jeddah. What? I didn't even know it was possible to rain in the Middle East like this. This is unprecedented. This is not only going to affect just this qualifying session, this will affect the entire race in terms of our preparation, how comfortable we feel in our brand new Toyota, and even into the next race, because now I have no yardstick of how this car will feel in completely dry conditions on the lowest fuel possible. You know, going to the race, I'll have no full dry running in this Toyota. lap 1, 5 red lights will be my first inkling of this car when it's fully dry, because this isn't really going to be about car performance now with the rain coming down. It's really slippery out there, as you can clearly see, as I'm trying to push the limits already on the outlap to see where we stand with the grip, and there's not a lot of it, especially on the slow corner exits. And my engineer says the light rain will be with us for a while, i.e. the entire session. I don't think it'll be getting any worse, but it certainly is definitely affecting grip levels. It's not like it's just raining and it's still, dry times. The times are going to get affected, and this will basically be who can be the bravest, who's got the most skill to really find the limits of this circuit in these conditions. And in a way, this will be a great equalizer, because car performance is going to matter a lot less when the track is like this. So that's why I say it's going to be a big stab into the unknown when we get to the race, and then also even for round 2 in Australia, because we haven't had a session in quali that's kind of actually giving us a yardstick of where everyone stands in terms of pace. Because right now, we're P2, but we're 4/10 off Lando Norris in provisional pole position. I have no idea if that's actually competitive or not. I don't know if that 4/10 is the gap that actually is there between McLaren and Toyota. Yeah, what a weird first outing in a new team. This is not really ideal. You want to be really able to push the limits and try and suss out what the weaknesses are of this car, but it's so hard to tell, because there's a bit of understeer, there's a bit of oversteer. That could all just be from the damp track. I don't know. I have no clue, as we're trying to skate our way through, and it's really about trying to not lose too much time as we slide through some of these corners. As we catch the car, we lose time, and we have to go over the curb there, and in the end, this second flyer, well, it was yellow first sector, no surprise there. It was actually purple in the middle, and we've taken that last corner much better than we did on the first flying lap. We're down to P9. That lap will take us back to third place. Leclerc's up there in a second, Verstappen, Sainz, but this really is just about getting the laps in and just hoping you can find that confidence. So I actually fueled up on that second run for 3 consecutive laps. 1 push, 1 regen to regen the battery, and then for a third lap to push again. So this is the same set of tyres there, but I'm hoping, because, we've done an outlap there in between, we've recharged the battery, the tyres are still relatively warm. Hopefully that may give us a small advantage, as Lando is absolutely flying. So one thing's for certain, Lando and McLaren look like a great combo at the start of the season. But look at this, Tsunoda pops up a time for P4. The 2 Ferraris kind of in a checkerboard with ourselves and Verstappen. Who knows where others are? I mean, I saw at one point Hulkenberg and the Haas Cadillac was up in the top 5 as well. So this really is going to be a huge unknown. And can some drivers be heroes today? Can we be a hero? It's second place, but we're nearly 0.6 of a second off Lando, splitting the 2 McLarens. Hulkenberg's up there in P4. This is going to be a very weird end to the session. That's me done. I have no more fuel left for my runs. But look at this. We've got some racing going on. Ollie Behrman stuck in the high-tech for a second season. Looks like he's a little bit miffed he's not in that Ferrari and taking the place of the man he's racing here, Carlos Sainz, because he's looking to overtake the Spaniard and have a race with him as he qualifies. And he's going to come across the line for a lap. That's going to get him up to P4. Eventually will be P5. And Ocon in the BMW Williams has managed to get onto the front row in a topsy-turvy session. That one, it was anyone's game. It was literally just a case of who's going to be bravest at the end. Yeah, what a weird session. I mean, Yuki down in P13. To be honest, like I said, this is not a fair assessment of anyone, really. So I'm going to hold my judgment of who we've got as a teammate until maybe the second race. And also, obviously, we know from last season, Yuki is great in this car when he can get the lap in. But in a session like this, I'm sure the AI were a bit flummoxed as much as I was. And clearly, you can see some heroes in the session of Ocon in the BMW Williams. Behrman, again, impressing in the high-tech, beating both Ferraris. Big discrepancies between certain teammates, you know, Verstappen all the way up there, Hamilton down in the bottom 5. One thing that is for certain is Mercedes genuinely look very, very slow, as both of them are in the bottom 3. You know what? I'm very, very happy with the top 3 to start this one, because rain in Jeddah, like, what? Okay, so we're just going to go from here. It's going to be such an unknown, more so than most round 1 episodes, because of that weird qualifying session, but that's going to be quite exciting. Let's go to the grid.
Months of rumour and speculation all come to an end today as we return to racing for the opening event of what promises to be an enthralling season. Welcome along then to round 1 of this year's Formula 1 World Championship. So let's take a look at the topographical map of the Jeddah Street Circuit. As you can see, a number of challenging corners for the drivers to master here. We'll see just how much the teams have benefited from their time spent in practice this weekend. And like many street circuits, this track has the potential to punish drivers that get it wrong. Let's hope we avoid any safety cars today. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Lando Norris put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position, with Esteban Ocon alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have an RB, Behrman, Oscar Piastri, Leclerc, Sainz, Fernando Alonso, Perez, Hülkenberg, Stroll, Tsunoda, Sargent, Verstappen, Albon, Hamilton, Joe, Russell, Vesti, and Daniel Ricciardo fills the last spot on the grid. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today? And alongside me today, a man small in stature but big on comment, Anthony Davidson. Hello. Now, Ant, as much as I like testing, and I do love testing, and I've really enjoyed the build-up here and all the speculation, I really want to see some action. And finally today, we get some proper action on the track.
You're going to definitely see action, Crofty. Everyone's G'd up for this one. They've done the testing, like you say. The drivers will be revving inside, heart rates going, trying to burst out their chest at this moment. With that anticipation, who's got the speed? We're going to learn now, once and for all.
Quite honestly, this is not how I pictured the start of this season going. Very mixed up top 5. I mean, it's brilliant. We've got 5 different cars in the top 5. McLaren, BMW Williams, Toyota, Hi-Tech GP, and Haas Cadillac. That is unreal. Like, this seems like a continuation of last season with how competitive this is, where basically the R&D chart, chuck it out the window. It doesn't really tell you much, because on track things are so different with certain drivers performing so well, and that's not a bad thing. That's a brilliant thing, because like I said in the pre-season episode, low-key, if you look back at the highlights of last season on this game, yes, this game has a lot of downfalls. The hype really isn't there on this game cycle. Actually, last season was a really competitive and entertaining season. It's just a shame so many people are disconnected with the game that they'll never know how much of a great season that was, basically. But you guys will, who are watching today, as we line up for a brand new one, though. This is the start of an all-new challenge with Toyota, whilst the entire landscape of Formula 1 is constantly involving new and old brands like BMW and Cadillac entering high levels of competition from up and down the grid, from Red Bull, Ford, Aston Martin, Honda, down to Audi Sports and Hi-Tech GP. A new tyre supplier in the form of Michelin. Last season in 2026, it was touted as a new era. This seems like an even bigger refresh, as 20 drivers look towards 5 little red lights to get a brand new season underway. Lights out and away we go. It's an electric start for Ocon in the BMW Williams on the inside of the pole man Lando Norris in the chrome McLaren. We've had a decent getaway, staying P3, watching this battle and longing to get involved. Can we get down the inside of the McLaren? The BMW Williams leads the race and we can't get the McLaren, but we have maintained third, and Ocon is is pulled away in the lead. Ollie Bearman up to 4th place for High-Tech, ahead of the Haas Cadillac. Leclerc, the reigning champion, P6 then for Ferrari, and it's a slow getaway for the Red Bulls and Mercedes. And I've got to actually point out, I didn't mention it, but Verstappen actually was meant to be in the top 5, but he started this season, with a grid penalty of some kind. Don't know for what, whether it's an engine component remains to be seen, but if it is an engine component, that's a little bit worrying already immediately for Red Bull and Ford. But all's calm at the moment in my world in our brand new car, and we're actually looking good to maybe go for a move on the McLaren side by side. A little bit of contact made, and certainly no love lost between former teammates from season 1 and season 2. We pass Lando Norris, we get up into 2nd place. It's a Williams and a Toyota 1-2 in this race. Incredible scenes as Bearman is fighting off Piastri and Leclerc. I feel like there's going to be plenty of swapping going on in this top 10, but right now Ocon is in the zone. Quickest lap on lap 1, and a great getaway. It really was an electric start for the Frenchman. But now, can we get our head down? Have we got any sort of pace to chase after Ocon? And also, how long can we keep Lando behind? Because realistically, technically, the McLaren's meant to be the best car on this grid. Of course, things certainly are different when you actually come into reality of these tracks that we've seen plenty of times in F1 career modes. But, you know, at this stage, we just got the jump on him. But now he's going to get a chance to get into a rhythm. Everyone's going to get into a rhythm and a flow. And we're going to really start to see what the true pace is like of everyone's cars. I mean, we're already strung out a little bit, to be fair. Myself and Lando in no man's land together. Ocon in the distance, and a 2-second gap behind to Bearman. There goes the McLaren. We lock up on the front left, trying to keep our nose turned in, but we couldn't fully shut the door on our fellow compatriot. He was fully alongside us, and he still is there, and he sets a new fastest lap of the Grand Prix. So the McLaren is showing it's got some pace there as Oscar Piastri gets up into P4 behind, 3 abreast for Perez, Bearman and Leclerc. Bearman hangs on to P5, but Piastri's got all of them then. I think he made a double overtake, to be fair, up to P4, and Perez just about nicks ahead of Bearman though. So actually showing there, Perez making that double pass, the McLaren legit has some pace here. So I feel like this may be a question of when Lando overtakes us, like fully, not if. And I feel like that question just got answered right there, because despite both of us having DRS, that McLaren's acceleration was godly with, I assume, a fair amount of battery. I didn't bother deploying any because we don't have a lot, actually. I was overusing it, staying ahead of the McLaren. So, and we learned that the hard way many times last season. You know, F1 24, very much, even with maxed out cars, I find it's still quite tricky to manage the battery. It's so important to have a decent amount there, because unlike previous F1 games where maxed out cars basically gave you unlimited battery use, it just doesn't on F1 24, so you still need to manage it very much so, and you don't have a lot in there. Even medium setting just isn't enough to stay ahead of cars, as we're watching Perez chasing after Piastri, and up ahead Lando has absolutely checked out of the battle with me, and he's already on for the battle for P1. Ocon has been enjoying the lead so far for 4 laps nearly, but Lando looking to get back into P1 where he started on the outside. The Williams will try to fight that. Surely the McLaren finishes off that move on the main straight. Meanwhile, I can see on the timing ladder, Perez has got past Piastri. So at the same time, both McLarens made their moves, and they are showing early signs that, okay, maybe legitimately they are the quickest car here on the grid, but there's still a long way to go. And you can see Piastri there gives Perez a bit of a fight back. So let's see. I mean, Perez doesn't stick around for long. Just like Lando, he bolts away, and in clean air, it seems like that McLaren is godly here in Season 4. And we're DRS for Perez, and for me, not so much. We're a sitting duck, like last season. Now that we've got to this point where acceleration is so high, the cars are so lightweight, if you have DRS and If the car behind you has DRS and you don't, it's literally game over. There's literally no way you can fight it. You may as well just try and set up a repass in a future lap, as we see plenty of scrapping going on between the two Ferraris and the man who wishes he was probably in a Ferrari by now, Ollie Bearman, doing a fantastic job, I must say, putting himself in the shop window once again, in his second season now in Formula 1, ahead of the two Constructors' Champion cars, of course, in the high-tech GP. Now, all of a sudden, back to our POV, we're at the end of lap 11, the first stint's flown by. It's time for the first and only pit stop, I assume, of this race. We're not still sure about how the Michelins will perform over the course of heavy fuel races, but here in Jeddah, I'm certainly confident it's just going to be a one-stop, and the way to go is just from mediums onto the hard tyres to the end of the race. As you can clearly see, the amazing smoke has certainly been reduced. EA, good stuff there with the patch. We're one of the first cars in for the hard tyres, and for good reason, because I reckon we can maybe get an undercut going on Perez, because that's Verstappen who's popped in a fastest lap of the Grand Prix. He's already made his pit stop, as has Lewis. I think both Red Bulls have gone very aggressive, and they pit a lot earlier for their mediums, and I think they're going to try and go long then on the mediums. So Red Bull really being quite confident with their tyre wear levels and looking just to get some clean air to jump their two drivers up the order. And meanwhile, it's very, very grim readings for the Mercedes guys you would have seen there on the timing ladder. Last and second last. We really left them in disarray. And you know what? They deserve it, because they annoyed me so much by the end of that season with how that car was. So I'm not really too upset by it. As we now move into lap 13 onto 14, and look up here, Agent Sonoda has done us a massive favour as a teammate. He's only gone and held up Albon and Ocon especially, and obviously Ocon, remember, was in P2 behind Lando Norris, so all of a sudden we're quite close to the Williams car, and that's because of Sonoda doing a great job for a whole lap holding up the two BMW Williams. Lando's come out from his pit stop, and he's only just up the road, so we have definitely gained a fair amount with that undercut. I mean, we're nearly 5 seconds ahead of Perez, and he was obviously ahead of us before the pit stop, so that's a job well done for that undercut strategy. Meanwhile, you got Piastri P5. Look at this, both Red Bulls have jumped up to P5 and 6 with their aggressive strategy. Oh no, smoke coming off the back of the Red Bull Ford. Verstappen is in absolute agony. He already had to take a grid penalty, I assume, for engine components. This is going to severely piss him off. New engine components, grid penalty, won't matter. The Ford power unit at the back of that Red Bull goes up in smokes, and it's the worst way to start a new campaign. Meanwhile, his teammate Lewis Hamilton, the 7-time champion, having a bit more luck in this car at the start of this season, and is on the back of Piastri, the Haas Cadillac, looking to get up into the top 5. I was going to say both Red Bulls were cooking with the strategy, but now it's just Hamilton. But he also has cooked, because at one point he was outside the top 10. Now, all of a sudden, I feel like he's just jumped all the way up like 10 positions to P5 with a very early, aggressive pit stop strategy. And it seems like Red Bull are very confident the Michelin mediums can go that long through the race then, as we see lots of fighting going on all the way up and down the field, as two Ferraris are having a look at each other, and Alonso, P9, also looking to have a go. Bearman has fallen down the order because of the high-tech GP, I assume, pit stop, or when they made that call, so he's got some work to do to come back through. That was always the case last season, you know, operationally maybe not ready for the level Bearman is bringing. As we chase after Ocon, he locks up, we lock up, as we're following close behind, and I'm not going to lie, I had tunnel vision chasing after Ocon, so I was just so locked in, and I didn't see where we were going, and I was basically just following his lines through every corner, so we basically followed him off circuit there, as the Frenchman is feeling the pressure then from ourselves, and up ahead, Lando is pulling away. I feel like this is a crucial point of the race to overtake the Williams. We go to the left, go to the right, send Ocon a bit of a dummy, and try to get round the long way. It's going to be difficult on the banked corner. Ocon getting the elbow out, bit of contact made, but we do manage to get the car through into P2. And you know what? These hard tyres, these new hard Michelins, they're feeling excellent. I think we can really lean on them and push like a maniac to try and see if we can close up to Lando and apply the pressure. At this stage, we've got nothing else to lose. All the data on the R&D chart may have indicated other teams should have been quicker in this race, but after raining quali, everything was on his head. And how many times last season did we see that the R&D chart just did not mean anything when you're so close to maxed out cars with every single team, and the driver can make the difference as we go purple. We've already set a fast lap of the Grand Prix. We are officially in flow state here, and the McLaren spun it. Oh my words, what? The leader has spun it. Ocon slowed up. There's a pile up. Is there going to be a red flag or safety car? Doesn't appear so. And all of a sudden, we're into first place. Perez now is the McLaren leading out of the two. He's going for the move, but surely we've got to try and defend this with our life as we try and outbrake Perez, get the elbow out and push him off circuit as we try and maintain first place. We've got to pull out all the stops and be as aggressive as possible. How on earth are we in this position? I don't know. But when you get a chance to get a surprise win in a Toyota, you have to go for it. I mean, I'm sorry. We've got to try, but what on earth happened here? Just a load of wheel spin. Clearly, the McLaren not loving the hard Michelin tyres as much as I was. There was no contact with the wall or anything like that. I mean, there's the contact I made with the wall. I am so lucky we didn't break a bit of our front wing, and we're actually lucky that Ocon didn't commit to going through. There was space for the Frenchman to take the lead if he kept going, but obviously he was actually playing the smart thing of slowing down, obeying the rules of the double yellows, I'm sure, at that stage. But now, all of a sudden, we're in the lead, and with the cork in the bottle, Perez attacking us. Lando is still in this race, by the way, in third. Ocon's there, and Hamilton, the top five, separated by, 2 seconds total time as we go for the repass on Perez. All we've got going for us is DRS here, because look at the battery. We were down to 10% at the start of that straight. If we didn't have DRS on Perez, there was no chance we made that repass. So my best bet is being in the lead here. Okay, if they overtake us, fine. We have to stay in DRS for the next straight if they overtake us at this part of the circuit. Otherwise, it's game over. I am trying my best to save battery and not use overtake mode in other parts of the circuit to save enough, but 36%. Oh, what? Perez's engine goes up in smokes. There's another twist to this tail in the desert in Saudi Arabia. What is going on? This is the craziest opening race I can remember. Bloody Nora. What? So now all of a sudden the McLaren in second is Lando Norris once again. Ocon in third. Hamilton is up to P4 and he's on the mediums. He's been on the mediums for a while, but he is technically on the quicker compound. But how much tyre wear has he got? That's the other question. But right now we are once again trying to defend the McLaren. This time it's Lando who is completely dummied me there into braking too late and too deep into that corner. And he's done the switchback. We're now in the slipstream though. We've got DRS. It's going to be 3 wide. McLaren v Toyota v Williams. We're going to have to play this very smart because I can't outbrake Ocon there. We're going to pick our fights. We're going to stay ahead of Lando, but Ocon is now in the lead. But I reckon we could overtake the Williams as Hamilton now throws his hat into the ring. The Red Bull is up into third on the mediums. Dare I say, could Lewis Hamilton be smashing and grabbing all of this on the quickest compound as we see moves going on left, right and centre? I think that was Behrman getting ahead of Hulkenberg. Leclerc going down the order. Either way, I think Hulkenberg actually overtook the Ferrari, sorry. So the reigning champ is nearly out of the points. What is this race? As it's deja vu now from the opening laps. We're chasing Ocon for the race lead. We fake to the right, go to the inside, try and catch him unawares. It's a big send on the inside. Little lock up to slow down the car because Ocon very much still warranted the room there. It's now a drag race down the main straight and both Lando and Lewis have DRS. We defend the McLaren on the inside and all of a sudden it's 4 wide for the race lead. This is unreal. Is this F1 24? Are we sure? This is unreal racing. And Lewis has just made a double overtake there, or triple overtake technically, because I think he was still overtaking Lando and then got Ocon and myself. Lewis has actually just pulled off a triple overtake for the lead as Sainz gets ahead of Alonso. And wow, Leclerc's out the points. What is going on with the reigning champ, and strolls up into the top 10. This race, there's literally no way to call any of these positions. I've officially got no idea what is going on as we go either side of the Red Bull Ford. Myself and Lando making a bit of contact into the quick left and right as we get back into the lead. You can see the desperation coming out of me because, you know, we were nowhere near a race win before Lando made that error many laps ago now, but all of a sudden we've got a chance. We've got half a chance here. We've got to try everything we can, and that means the desperation is coming out, but we've got to try and remain as calm as we can as well and think clever about this one because slipstreaming is so important, and we're leading without DRS onto the final lap. This is it. How are we going to play this? Meanwhile, Tsunoda, our teammate, is enthralled in a four-way battle, and Yuki is going to overtake the reigning champ in the Ferrari, showing that there is a bit of fight in him. He just needs to get a good qualifying in him like he was so many times last season. I mean, I'm showing clearly the Toyota has some pace. Clearly the Williams has pace. You know, both Albon and Tsunoda way down the order compared to their respective teammates. We saw this so often last season where there were big teammate discrepancies. I hope Yuki can find some of that form from last season, but right now it seems like we're taking all of it in this first round. We lead into the final two sectors. Look at Lewis go though. He's got DRS down this section. We're not deploying battery on purpose. We're saving as much energy as we can because we are now going to have DRS after this next right-hander. This is the moment. We have to get this right. DRS open for us. Hamilton, a sitting duck, battery use into the final corner, but there goes Ocon on the outside. We've now got to defend the Williams. We've locked up, it's a bit deep, and all of a sudden Ocon is on the inside. We're deploying battery, but the Williams has an unreal launch. What's happened? What just happened? We were into the lead. We can taste the win. Yeah! Woo!
Yes, guys. Well done, mate.
Esteban Ocon sees the checkered flag and will stand on the top step of the podium. Straight bomb.
Well, all that off-season work clearly paying off here today, Crofty. A brilliant way to start the season with a solid victory. It's a real good confidence boost as well, and you feel like that's going to really propel them forward through to the next race coming up.
Ocon is a worthy winner. To be honest, anyone is a worthy winner in that race. Lando, Lewis, Perez, bless him with the engine failure. Oh, we were so close. Ultimately, I did so well to save battery to overtake Hamilton. I didn't realise and obviously didn't foresee I would bloody need enough battery to get oomph out of the final corner to drag race another car, having overtaken the Red Bull. And also, I just locked up, panicking a bit, having to defend Ocon. Ironically, in all of this, we beat our rivalry with Leclerc in-game. Won't matter much, but, I mean, I said it before in the closing laps. That was the most mental opening race of the season I can actually remember. For a while, actually. Might actually be one of the best first races of the season we've had for like 2 years, dare I say. Incredible stuff. Guys, if you have enjoyed it, be sure to hit the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. 2027 in-game is off with a bang. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.